Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we're going to be ranking season 16 of Doctor Who. Now, this of course is Tom Baker's fifth season in the role. Yes. And the second season of the Williams era. Now, season 16 is interesting because it's the only season in Tom's era to me that doesn't have a bona fide masterpiece classic in it. Like, there's not a single story that I would call essential Doctor Who viewing. Every other season has at least one story that as a Doctor Who fan, I think you need to watch. Season 16 doesn't. It's not a bad season by any means. Tom Baker doesn't have a bad season, but there's just no, like, top 10, top 15, you have to watch this, it's amazing story in it. So that's one of the reasons why I'm leading with this one when I'm ranking kind of stories in a season. It's just an interesting season. I have it. It is the Key to Time season. And it's also rare for Classic Who, is it's a season that has a seasonal arc. You know, there's an arc going throughout the whole season, which is very unusual for Classic Who. That happens pretty much all the time in the modern series, but very rarely in the Classic series, because each episode was more just a standalone thing back then. So the Key to Time season is about the Doctor collecting the keys to time across all 6 of its stories. And today we're going to rank them from worst to best. And starting at the bottom at number 6 is The Power of Kroll, which is terrible. It is my least favorite Tom Baker story and one of my least favorite Doctor Who stories of all time. It is crap. Now, to be fair, the script isn't bad. It's a Robert Holmes script. Robert Holmes doesn't write bad scripts. It's not the script's fault. It's the execution. Be it the director or the budget not being there. It's crap. The execution is terrible. Part of it's what they're attempting to do, because the Doctor basically has to fight a giant squid, octopus-like thing, squid, I think. And the budget just can't pull this thing off. There's a few things, like when people are getting dragged by tentacles, that look pretty cool, but the squid effect looks terrible. The people dressed up in the green paint just looks like they're people wearing green paint. The props and sets look like they were done on a $10 budget. They look cheap even by classic Doctor Who standards. It's an awful, awful, awful mess of a story. And my advice is, if you watch this season, skip that one. Or if you have to watch it once, never watch it again. It's awful. I've actually watched it twice, and I'd rather shoot myself than watch it a third time. Number 5 is The Androids of Tara. This is an interesting one, because the first time I watched it, I liked it. I would have ranked it probably 2 or 3 on the list. I enjoyed it. But the second time I watched it, which I just rewatched it last year, just a few months ago, I found it repetitive and a bit boring. Not bad by any means. There's no other bad stories on this list. Like Romana getting kidnapped. She gets free. Then she gets re-kidnapped. And this is also where you have kind of high hopes for Romana. This is Romana 1, Mary Tam, by the way. Because she's a Time Lord, so you expect her to be a little more capable. Not like the Doctor, because she is a bit naive. She's young. But she over the course of the season, she kind of devolves into the tropey damsel in distress needs rescuing. And it's very apparent here, and it pulls me out of the story. And it also gives me a good understanding why Mary Tam wanted to leave the show after just one season. Even though I still prefer her Romana to Lala's Romana. But there's some stuff going on here I like. Tom is great in it. I absolutely love Tom in the story. I love some of the location work. It's really good. I like a lot of the bits with the androids. A couple of the cliffhangers are good. It's not a bad story. I didn't like it as much the second time I watched it as I did the first. Moving up to number 4 is The Stones of Blood. This is an interesting one, because the first time I watched it, I hated it. And the second time I watched it, I still don't care for it. But if you ever seen like a Doctor Who episode that you don't really like, but there's some stuff going in it you think's pretty cool, or sometimes you have the opposite where it's a Doctor Who story you like, but there's just a couple things that pull it down. This is one of those where I don't really like the story a lot, But there's some good stuff going on in it that makes it rewatchable to me. I do actually look forward to going back and rewatching this one. While I don't really care about the actual stones themselves because they look silly when they're moving around, the whole cult thing seems a little silly. One of the main guy in the cult overacts a bit. But I like the old lady that I can't remember her name, the old professor in it. I like her. She does a good job. I really like the bit with the ship that's suspended in hyperdrive. So it's this derelict ship that's been there for millennia, and it's been right above Stonehenge, but nobody knows it's there because it's in a hyperdrive dimension, or a hyperspace. I think it's in hyperspace, something like that. I love that idea, and them getting access into that dimension to go to it. And then I love the Doctor being on trial for opening a door. That's funny. I like the beings that he lets out, how because they're not humanoid in any way. That when the idea that they're aliens, they're really alien. They're just these little sparkly things that float around. And I like that because it's just such a totally different concept to aliens we're used to seeing in most sci-fi shows where they're pretty much humans that with makeup on. I like the fact that they're that alien to us. And I will admit it's a bit humorous to see Tom Baker in the little wig like you would if you're in a British court. And he has some very humorous bits in there too. So I actually like the part with the trial. That's actually really nice. Number 3 on the list is the Armageddon Factor. I like this one more than it tends to be loved. I like this one more than most people. People tend to crap on this one, but I enjoy it. I think it might be a tad long. It might have worked better as a 4 or 5 parter. I like the captain of one side. I don't know his name. I'm so bad with names. The guy who's leading one of the alien forces, who actually has the little thing on his neck. I like the actor playing him. The main villain of it, the Shadow character. I think the makeup on him's done pretty well. I like his kind of creepy voice. The setup with, there's 2 factions who are deliberately being put at war with each other by a third faction. I enjoy that. The bit when the Doctor creates the time loop that's slowly stretching out to the point where it's about to break. I love that. The way they do the countdown to show that. The time loop is stretching thinner and thinner. It's really well done and actually really well executed. I like Lala Ward as Princess Astra in it. I love that scene when they try to put the little mind control thing on the Doctor and he just takes it off. He's like, what's this? That's funny. And then the ending. I actually really like the ending when the Doctor figures out what's going on. When the White Guardian shows up to get the key to time, because this is the final episode when it's assembled. And that whole ending scene I like. I know some people might think Tom plays it a little too campy, but I think it's perfect because it's spot on 4th Doctor. Because nobody knows the 4th Doctor better than Tom Baker. And the way he plays that is perfect and very in character for the 4th Doctor, and I absolutely love it. I'm totally on board with it. Number 2 is is it Rebus? I've already forgotten Operation. I like this one. This is another one people don't seem to give enough credit to, in my opinion. It's really fun. Again, it's not any kind of classic or anything, but I like it. Most of the actors do a good job in it. There's a couple of the guest actors that make me roll my eyes a bit, but most of them do a pretty good job. I love Tom meeting Romana and their interactions in the TARDIS and right when they first get to the planet outside of the TARDIS. I love that bit about, I don't really think I like Romana. It's either Romana or Fred. Well, in that case, I think I'd prefer to be called Fred. Right. Come on, Romana. I love little stuff like that. And the conversations, again, they had right when they first met in the TARDIS are very humorous, and I enjoy. Again, it's not must-see Doctor Who, but I enjoy it. It's a fun story that I like to go back and rewatch every now and again. And number 1 on the planet, and it's probably the closest to being a great Doctor Who story, is the Pirate Planet. Again, it's not perfect. It has its flaws. It's not essential Doctor Who, but it is really good, and I really enjoy it. I love the Pirate Planet. I love all the concepts behind the Pirate Planet. I like the idea of a planet that's been hollowed out that teleports itself around another planet and then drains it of all its minerals and then teleports to another planet. Almost like a vampire planet, basically, a parasitic planet. The parasitic planet. I want a Doctor Who story called that now. The parasitic planet. I like it. I love the captain of the planet in it, Mr. Fibley. He's a bit hammy, but it's a good hammy. It really does play. So, again, it's a bit campy, but it's good campy. It does it in a good way. The captain really does the camp thing well. I like his design. They do a good job of pulling him off as a cyborg that's half robotic and half human. I actually think the people who worked on him and designed him did a really, really good job. It actually looks, I think, pretty convincing, especially for Classic Who. I think the actor does a good job playing it. Finding out the mystery of the Queen, I think, is done well. I think the person playing his young attendant was new at acting. She's not bad, but there's a couple times where I don't feel like I'm watching a person. I feel like I'm watching an actor act. And so that's not perfect. But I enjoy it. And Tom has some good moments in it, like when he's talking, when the pirate captain is showing him his little collection of rocks. And Tom is just appalled by it. You know, when he's seeing the sheer destruction that's just sitting around him, and he realizes they're the remnants of planets, kind of like in the finale of season 11 of Doctor Who. Very similar concept. And you can tell he's just horrified by it. And, you know, and he lashes out. He's like, well, what's it for? You know, I love that. That's some excellent acting from Tom. So, yeah, the Pirate Planet is probably the closest, I would say, season 16 comes to having a true classic story. I wouldn't quite put it in, this is a classic story, you have to go back and watch it, but it's easily the closest season 16 comes. Again, season 16 is not a bad season. It does have a bad episode and some mediocre episodes and some good episodes and one really good episode. That pretty much sums it up. But that's my thought on season 16. Have you seen season 16? What do you think of season 16? Comment below. Let me know. Tell me what you think. Click the like button. Click the subscribe button. Check out my main channel, Prowl1701, PROWL1701, where I talk about all things Star Wars. And most importantly, stay safe out there. And thank you for watching.